Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Hey Sue, what are you doing here, scoundrel? How you doing? Thank you for the mic checks, you too. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm ready to flip this over. Back to Mapmaker Monday. How's everyone doing today? Oh my gosh, you're always welcome. Hey Chim, how are you? Oh my goodness. Say Sue, you're hilarious. It's been a long time, my friend. Been so long, some people around here may not even recognize you. Hope you're well. Rev, what's up with you, my man? How's life been treating you, Seisu? Let's hear about Seisu 101. What you been up to? So, welcome back one and all to Mapmaker Monday. We are currently working on this section that we've aptly named the sardine can of a very vast ancient cemetery. And I know this doesn't look like much here, but if you kind of zoom out and see the overall picture, the cemetery is rather vast. Started over here, and the map is actually 85 by 87 squares. But we're working on graves in this section here, which is just mainly pauper graves. So, you know, i.e. people whose financial situation, they passed away, they didn't have a whole lot of money, or maybe no friends or family or whatever, so they were given just kind of a basic plot. Anyway. So that's what we've kind of been working on the last few weeks here. Every Monday we work on this map for about a half hour, an hour, while we hang out, discuss what's going on with your campaigns, your personal lives, your map making. If you have any questions or inquiries or support, meaning you have questions about Dungeon Alchemist, you're wondering how to build a certain thing, maybe you're struggling with an export, maybe you're wondering about our next update, Fun with Objects, and you'd like to ask questions about it. During the stream, it's AMA format, which means ask me anything. So feel free to ask me any questions you may have, and I will do my best to address them and provide you with real-time support. See, the thing is, though, we've been working on this map for a while. That's the crazy thing. Hey, Philadelphia. How you doing? Go Birds. So, how is your computer science classes, Seisu? And are you getting any tabletop gaming time in? zoom out a little bit and go across this entire map so we can, whoa, got lost there. Kind of put it into perspective here. So this is the entryway. Got hundreds of graves over here, kind of medium style. Here we have a private grave site with like it fenced off. Mausoleum type graves. I think of this as like a royal grave site. Doing great myself. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. There's a lot going on at Dungeon Alchemist HQ. There's just a lot of busy work going on, right? There's got a nice. Anyway, everyone's kind of getting ready for the next update. There's a lot of testing happening right now, and I've been prepping like teaser content and helping, you know, get people into some of our mods and stuff into the testing phase, and also you know, doing lots and lots of work myself, graphic requests, storyboard write-ups, script writing, shooting content, editing content, posting content, while also streaming. Hey, Primal Edge Design, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Man, the next few weeks are going to be crazy for me. And just be wary, everyone. Keep an eye on our Discord. There should be, and our social media. There should be a post soon announcing when our reveal streams for Fun with Objects Part 1 will be. So very, very soon I should be able to do that. Like, I'm basically waiting on the graphics and then I can do it. Class is interesting, but too much math is involved. My campaign is still running. I had a few weeks paused and my players switched to the GM seat for the time. That's smart, dude. Take a break. You don't want to get burnt out, you know? Anyway, kind of this build has been tremendously intense, and it's all done by hand. And I've done a lot of like really crazy kind of just detail work, right? Like this garden here, very intricate and detailed all around the cathedral. Now, I'm sure if I sat down and worked on this in a week, I didn't put all the time I've worked onto it so far, it'd probably have been done in like a week or two had I worked on it straight, right? But like I said, I'm only putting in about a half hour a week. We talk about the map, we discuss everyone's lives, campaigns, and their weekends, and provide support, and then I work and maybe add like 30 to 40 graves a week. If that, because graves at the moment are not that intuitive, and I'm trying to make them all look different. Really can't wait for the next update because we're getting like a whole load of mausoleums and graves and statues. But yeah, man, the map is insane, and there's still so much to go. Like all of this. Over here is the caretaker's property, which is the guy who kind of like manages the lot. You know, helps dig graves and manages the plots and trims the hedges and trees and waters all the plants. He's a bit of a green thumb. Hey Clifford, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. So my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. I run our social media and I stream several times a week to provide, you know, community entertainment, guidance, assistance, and also provide insight as to our development roadmap, as well as answer questions about our ongoing development. So basically, anytime there's a stream live, you can tune in and ask questions, or you can, you know, ask me on any of our social media posts, and I'll do my best to respond and in kind. Welcome to the stream, by the way. I hope my audio is coming through good on Facebook today. I've had mixed feedback from them lately. But as far as what we're doing on this stream, it's called Mapmaker Monday. Every Monday for we sit down as a group and hang out and discuss our campaigns and map making plans and encounter ideas, and essentially it's just a fun place for GMs and DMs to chill. But also I build a map and we talk about that map and people share ideas and feedback and we kind of build a narrative around it. This map is the most ambitious build so far. Both it's massive. Hey, Powell, is it Powell? 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 I want to make sure I say that correct. Powell. Maybe that's how it is. Anyway, first time watcher, welcome, welcome. Got a couple Facebook viewers today. That's fantastic. So this area over here is the caretaker's cottage and property. And he's got like a little farm and pond and garden and bit of a green thumb. Like I said, here's some workspace so we can kind of like, dirt and equipment, stonework for graves, right? And then he's got a nice little property with like a pantry and a sink and just a place to eat, a place to chill out. And then here's his bedroom with a study. You got a cat on the bed there. Wardrobe. And then there's just hedges and garden all around his property. And then, of course, he's got a greenhouse with rare Paul. I'll just call you Paul because I don't want to butcher your name if you're cool with Paul. This area here, his greenhouse, is kind of his private, rare, exotic plants from faraway lands and other realms. So, we've got like a dryad over here, and he's got some bonsai, some mandrakes, and different plants from different regions, stuff from the Feywild and deserts, and even, oranges and lemons, which aren't necessarily native to this region, so to him they're rare. Anyway, so that's the caretaker's property. But what we've been working on lately is what we call the sardine can. We've been cramming graves in here, trying to just pack them in tight, because these were meant to be the sort of, if you will, the kind of generic pauper graves. So like here we have columbariums, and there's vertical graves, and then just tons of just generic graves, all with different headstones. Some are personal items, some are, sculpted, others are, wooden, whatever. Some is like it's a sword or a shield or something that might be recognizable to them. So throughout the stream, if anyone has any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, feel free to ask. I know quite a bit about it. I have over 34 hours with Dungeon Alchemist, quite a bit actually. Anyway, with that though, the streams are AMA format, which means ask me anything. So think of me like a professor in a class, and you can type up a question, ask, and I'll do my best to provide assistance as long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related. Any new info on 3D moving element integration into Roll20? You mean like animated tiles? Clifford, can you elaborate on that? Gustavo, I do not have a for sure date yet, okay? It's tentative, and we don't want to say anything until we know for sure at this point, but it is in July, okay? That is the certain thing I can say. We were really hoping to get it into June. There was a few things we had to take care of, and something we had to cut actually from this build to put into part 2. July 20, say soon, no, it's gonna be July next month. Okay, so I'm assuming, Clifford, you mean like an interactive element. So if your players click on like a chest and it opens like it does in DA, that would be tile creation. So what that is something you can actually do in Dungeon Alchemist already. I just don't think Roll20 supports it. I know Foundry and Fantasy Grounds do. But we have a biome now in Dungeon Alchemist. When you create a new map, you can set it to green screen, right? And in the green screen biome, you can put like an object on it that's animated, or like a chest, or any number of things, and go into the record mode here, this little camera, and then record in that cinematic camera you opening the chest or door or whatever it is, and then you can take that into a video editor and remove the green in usually a click or two in most video editors nowadays, because green screen removal is like very common feature in like almost all video editing programs. In my video editing tool, I use one called Wondershare Filmora. It can remove green in like a click. So it's actually really straightforward. I have to fine tune it a little bit to get the shadows and stuff right with animated objects that are moving constantly. But for the most part, it's relatively easy. That allows you, though, to capture objects in a state that you can remove the background at will. You know, Primal, I mean, if you don't really need a virtual tabletop, I mean, unless you want like the effects from spells and stuff, you could just use DA as a standalone virtual tabletop, doing top down with the grid on and disabling the user interface. Because it's a live map and you can move it around and make adjustments to it, you know what I mean? And put tokens right on top of the TV or inside DA. Now, that's a convenience you have when you play local. Usually you guys and gals like to use your own dice. You like to manage your own rules and all that stuff. So you don't need a virtual tabletop unless you want to supplement, like, you know, fog of war effects from spells, inventory management, stuff like that. So Paul says, I understand there's a lot of standard assets to be added. Recently, I added a lot of workshop custom models. Turned my alchemist unplayable until I removed them. So we have time and time again optimized the workshop and the asset reloading. But the thing is you got to take into account the assets that are being shared on the workshop by countless people in our community aren't necessarily always optimized. You know, the average map in Dungeon Alchemist with stock assets is 5 megabytes or less. There are assets on the workshop that are up to 300 megabytes. So you got to be careful when you're downloading assets on the workshop, okay? When you're looking at assets, first off, I know it's very tempting to just download everything under the sun. Do not do that, because you're bound to download some that are poorly optimized. And the ones that are poorly optimized, they start clogging up your RAM. So every asset you have that you download from the workshop preloads into your RAM before you load DA. I believe it's a one-time thing the first time, but if you went and subbed to hundreds of assets in the workshop and then loaded up DA, it's going to just crash over and over again if you don't have enough RAM to load both DA and all the preloaded assets you just subscribed to. So I recommend only subscribing to assets as you need them, okay? First and foremost, just understand when you save a map with assets from the workshop, if you unsubscribe to them and later go and open that map, it'll prompt you to re-download them. So you don't need to keep track of which assets are which. You've seen it before on the workshop. When you open a map on the workshop, it'll prompt you to download the assets. It's the same thing, even with your own personal maps. So you can kind of find the safe zone for how many assets you can keep on hand in your personal collection. But look here, this windmill, 447 megabytes. That's a great example. It's animated, that's nice and all, but that's gonna be so big. That's bigger than any map I've ever made. And I've made a lot. So that would be something I would tell you to avoid, is assets like these that are huge. Okay, either, you know, just try to avoid them or use them sparingly. Can I see TikTok chat? Oh, I'm not seeing it. Let me refresh. TikTok chat, I am so sorry. Refreshing TikTok chat. This is used in Unity. Unity, my friend, Taco. Sorry. I am so sorry. My TikTok chat was frozen. I don't know what was going on. Okay, let me see what I missed here. Hold on. Is there any plan to add a transparent background? Also, there is definitely discussion about it. I have been trying and pushing for this for a while. The devs kind of were pushing back for a main reason being that PNG is kind of a beast. In a small map, it's great, but if you have a massive map and you want transparency on it, and you turn it into a PNG export, the file ends up being so big that no virtual tabletop would be able to load it. So they have kind of opted to slowly integrate something like this, but it probably will only be on the roof layer at first, meaning when you export a map, the roof layer will have transparency around it. Not 100% certain if that'll make it into the first Fun with Objects update or the second. Sorry about that. Wish I had more info. I'm constantly pushing it on the back end. One thing I think we should adopt is WebP. WebP files they have similar properties to they have similar properties to PNG, but they lack the bloat of PNG. So they're much smaller, and that's why they're used on the web a lot now. Like a lot of images on the internet are WebP, and when you go to download them, a lot of computer image viewers can't open them, but certain virtual tabletops definitely do see them and read them. I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I did not realize TikTok was frozen. I just thought no one was there. Okay. Gonna demonstrate how to make a cinematic video of a map. So first off, if you go to the cinematic camera, you have this camera that flies around using the arrow key or like AWSD, and you can hold shift to speed through. It's like a drone essentially, and space raises it up, it looks like here. So I essentially can do a lot of different movement and fly through the maps. With a little bit of practice, it's essentially just like a fun little drone camera where you can zip through maps and make fun little videos or take screenshots, and these are perfect to use as handouts for your players. Alternatively, there's another way to interact in your maps with like a camera, and that's through tokens. If you drop a token in your map, drop the bard here, if you click the icon here, the average map from Dungeon Alchemist with stock assets is 5 megabytes or less. Yes. So this is, other than that green, that's my mouse tracker. Sorry. Maybe I should turn that off 1 second. Just a moment. Just a moment. So in this mode, in first person, you kind of have that little dot in the center and the record options at the top, but you can walk around like this and take screenshots or record in this mode. So if I press R, it'll start recording, and it'll remove the UI when you're recording, even if you're interacting with objects like doors and stuff. So you could record, walk through the map, open a door, maybe. Oh, gotta click on it. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Anyway, I was pressing Dune Awakening controls because I've been playing that like crazy lately. So my bad. My brain wasn't braining good. But you can record or take screenshots in this mode, and it actually gets rid of the UI, so it's kind of neat. Alternatively, I've seen DMs stream this view to their players while they're in a top-down of the area, and they'll just kind of follow along in first person and go to each room they go to and give them a player eye view so the players can see what it looks like through their own eyes. But also, our assets are heavily optimized. I mean, Dungeon Alchemist as a whole, okay, we have over like 6,500 assets stock, right? And DA is like 6.1 gigabytes on Steam right now. It's a very small application compared to most nowadays, right? Hey, Ricky. My apologies again, TikTok, that I was missing your chats earlier, that it was for some reason crashed or frozen. I refreshed it though. We'll be able to see your chats. I will be responsive. So if you have any questions, concerns, anything, let me know. Would anyone like to see a quick teaser from the upcoming update, and then we'll get into starting to fill these columbariums? Haven't done any work today, and we're already 25 minutes into the stream. That's what I mean, Seisu. Are you still here? I barely get any work done on these streams anymore. I think I need to extend Mapmaker Monday for like an hour, so I actually get some work done. It's like chill maker Monday is what it is. Mac Maker Monday. Okay, let's see here. What am I looking for? This is... Need someone to... Honestly, I get plenty of work done. This map is insane how much detail and time, like effort I put into it, considering how much time it's gotten. Can you hear this video? Interesting. I gotta figure that out. Something's wrong. My sound from this computer isn't making it over there. I can fix that though. I'll just play the video. Oh. Weird. Well, you can see the text, but let me explain what's going on here. So up until this last update, right? Dungeon Alchemist has had a more artistic grid, is what I've kind of called it in the past. And this was a choice of the devs and the art team to have what seemingly a kind of a plane where the grid kind of is locked, and objects typically above that are on top of the grid instead of under it. So like ground is under the grid, or if like you dig below the grid, notice here some of this rail is above the grid on the here, tracking back on this side. Some of the rail is above the grid and then it goes down, and then some of it's under it, but then the catwalk is under the over the grid, and you know what I mean. It's like it's very inconsistent. There's some objects here, some up. It's very hard for your players to know where they're at in gameplay with a grid that isn't on top of everything. Camera's a bit pale. You know what? That's probably, you know, me. I need more sun. I've been hiding out. Anyway, I need to do some yard work and get some sun, huh? Anyway, moving on. In this video, it shows the new grid, which essentially option allows you to render the grid on top of everything. So the grid will be prominent in a more traditional style where it makes it anyway, it's actually very cool. I'm trying to understand how I can render or send this audio to. Has something to do with my Elgato. Darn it. Is there no sound? I'll have to figure that out later. Yeah, I paused it because I was playing this video which has music and me talking in it. So it's frustrating. I'll have to say though, this video is on our social media and in our Discord, so you can watch it and check it out. I'm not sure why the video from this feed is not my main desktop isn't going over. I usually can flick a switch and it works, and it's not. So I'm gonna have to check that out later. Again, my apologies. Let's get the music back on, and then we can get back into the build. Hopefully I'll actually get something done today. So how was everyone's weekend? Y'all do anything interesting? Man, we're getting like lots of Facebook likes today. I don't know what I'm doing, but Facebook is granting me the algo rhythm, if you will. The rhythm is gonna get me. I mean, there was captions. You could at least read the captions, I hope. But I did explain the video in detail. So, Clifford, you're killing me, man. Oh, man. It's never too late to learn sign language, actually. I think that's awesome. Let's see here. What should I put in one of these? I'm thinking a candle to start. Let's do a candle. So what I do when I'm trying to break up the monotony is I will do one of several things. Swamp. Either A, I'll lay in parts by hand like I did here, these tiles, right? Alternatively, and I know what you're talking about, like an inside where this is repeated over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? So usually there's only like one tile that is this exact style, and it's hard to break it up. Sometimes there's several matching ones, and you can luckily kind of just grab another one and put it in another spot, mix and match. That doesn't always work though. Another thing that's kind of a pro tip, if you take the room tool, okay, like you're gonna draw any room, doesn't really matter which room, go into AI settings here in this tab, little hamburger menu, disable objects, walls, so it's just floor, right? And what you're gonna do is find a little spot like this, draw like a symmetrical shape, and then in this case, I'm actually gonna make it into a fun little star pattern, right? And then I'm gonna generate this, and now this is technically considered a new room, and I could put different tile there and interject different like pieces to mix and match. So maybe I want some like white stone tiling or something contrasting. Let me see if I can find this exact one. When was that? Is that it? Black marble tile? Let's see if we could do some of this blue stone there. But it's like you had someone tile in whole new sections. Hey, Run Amok. Got a set of metal dice? Nice. Philadelphia, be careful with those, man. I had some metal dice and I accidentally dropped it on a glass table, and you get the idea. I have some stoneware dice too. I love my stone dice. We were just explaining that. But essentially what I did, I took the room tool, right? And I disabled AI settings across the board for everything but the floor. And then I drew in a section of flooring, and you can just shape it with the room floor shaping tool, right? So let's make it circular this time instead. This is like where people are supposed to stand, right? Now I'll generate it, and then it'll fill it in with a random tiling, but then I could go in, because it's considered a separate room now, even though it doesn't have walls. Does that make sense? Rounded rooms, diagonal rooms, concave. You can do all sorts of stuff in Dungeon Alchemist. Let me show you all the shapes, actually. But yeah, if you draw a room within a room, but get rid of the walls, you can make it into tile patterns instead of, you know, it's a separate room. So first and foremost, I find it's good to have the grid on. It's helpful when you're drawing rooms. So Alt-G is the hotkey, and if it doesn't enable when you do that, go into Settings, click Grid, and make sure you have the transparency up a little bit. If it's way down, you can't see it even when it's on. So we'll do that to start. Next, when you're doing a circular room, if you want it perfectly circular, the room has to be perfectly divisible. So you cannot split a grid square in half in Dungeon Alchemist. So what I mean by perfectly divisible is it has to be divided by 2, okay? So it has to be 4 by 4, 6 by 6. So it can't be 5 by 5, because that would be a 2.5 squares split, not 2 squares. Or so you can't split a square in half. So go with that methodology. Equal, or on the even numbers, every 2, you know, you're good to go with that, with a shape that can make a circle. So let's start with 8 by 8, right? You grab these little dots located in the corner. Kind of hard to see, but you can see them there. Grab them and pull them and shape the building. Notice how I'm kind of pulling it until they bend at the center point, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares in. That makes a circular room. Now we'll generate that lab. Screw loss, the only way to make multiple level buildings right now until our next update launches is bend. So you would have to essentially stack objects on top of the main floor to build above it. And I'll show you that in just a moment if you stick around. So notice here, I'm going to do a little another circle in the center of this like we were doing over there. And I could make this another wood pattern if I wanted. So it's like kind of a fun way to mix and match patterning of floors while all still being the same kind of room look. Anyway, so you can also do rooms that are weird shapes or diagonal shapes. If you grab this dot and pull it to the side and then inward, it makes a diagonal cut. If you pull it outward, it makes bites. So concave and convex bites are possible. Or so you could do round pieces with diagonal pieces. You can mix and match and make all sorts of shapes. But yeah, screw lost. In our next update, we're adding multi-level, so it's like soon TM. It's like next month. You're asking at the right time. So multi-level currently is done by putting it in by hand. So the bottom floor of this chapel I generated with the room tool, right? But everything above here I put in by hand. And what I did is I found under the object menu in the structural section, there is the freestanding walls, and I found a matching wall to the structure on the base. Gotta look here for a minute, kind of scroll through our hundreds of walls. These ones are like the, right? Notice that's like the same patterning, okay? Now, these bad boys, if you hold control, they snap into place. If you hold shift when you place them, they automatically duplicate. You can just start snapping in walls free. And these are really cool walls for several reasons. They can rotate. They can be resized. So they can put it in lots of different angles and increments and stuff that isn't normal with the walls in this menu tied to the floor plans, right? Now, with these, if you disable collisions, okay? When you disable collisions, you enable the fun, right? So what I'm going to do is find a little snap point right there, and then I'm going to raise this bad boy up a little bit and then move it into the next snap point. I'm holding control while I do this. And then I'm going to just lower it down until I find a good height, and then make a new one. little tricky because I'm up above and I'm actually not perfect on the grid. I'm perpendicular to it. So it's trying to snap to the grid and to the place below at the same time. But if you notice, this is actually a pretty easy way to add taller walls on a whim. You could, just stack them up really high. Hey, thank you for the sub. By the way, Screw Lost, this is the official channel for Dungeon Alchemist, and I'm the community manager, so great channel to tune into if you need advice with DA. Thank you for that sub, though. Much appreciated. Also, Horton, is it Hortonization? Thank you for the follow as well. Alrighty, let's get back to building. So if you look in here, actually, Screw Lost, I kind of just stacked objects like stairs and wooden platforms to make like a cool little catwalk around this bell tower. And then I just built the floors up several layers, and I put in some of these are like banisters that had holes in them. They look like good windows. I was like, okay. I was going to put a roof on it eventually when I found one that I liked that could fit on it. There's a bunch of roofs actually on the workshop. If you go to Steam Workshop right here and click Browse Assets, you can type roof. And there are quite literally hundreds available that have been shared by our community. Oh, that's one that I shared. Observatory roof. But there's a bunch of like just prefab, slap it on there, object roofs. Some of them have like spires, and some are rounded, some are modern. Well, nice. Yeah, these help tremendously, but they're not perfect. But that's exactly what I do. I just disable collisions, and then I use the freestanding walls to make the second and third or whatever layers. I disable collisions a lot in my builds because I build by hand for almost everything. Notice, like, everything is like just done by hand. I don't really like to rely on the generation tools so much. I know how to use them. I love them, but I'm here to teach advanced concepts. You know what I mean? Be careful when you do that, though. Be wary. It's a trap to fall into. It's like a sand pit, you know? The more you download, you get kind of stuck, and your computer might have trouble loading DA or running it. The assets on the workshop are so amazing, and there's some creators that really good at optimizing them and decimating them and making them small. But it's just some people will grab an asset from a website and just upload it, right? They don't really do anything with it to optimize it. And when that happens, they're often very large. And if Dungeon Alchemist is 6 gigabytes and you go download another 10 gigabytes of assets, you basically are like, 1.5 times the size of DA's normal size just in assets. Think of it like, Steam, what are you normally downloading on the workshop when you download stuff? Mods, right? That's what's on the workshop, is mods for games, right? Or skins for things. So I like to think of the assets on the workshop like mods, because that's technically what they are. You're modifying stock DA and adding a third-party thing to it, okay? Every time you add a third-party asset, just keep in mind, the more and more and more you add, eventually you're going to kind of hit a wall where it might run into trouble. It was so much more. So you went all out and downloaded a ton, didn't you? Did you make a post in our Discord the other day having trouble? Did I help you the other day? You downloaded like 3,000 assets or something? Someone did the other day. I felt so bad. Oh my gosh. Like, you just went crazy downloading. Oh, it wasn't you? Okay, let me show you all a trick if you ever do that. If you ever get too many assets and your DA's going at a crawl, If you open up Steam, right? Here, I'll actually do it in Steam. I'm sure y'all have seen this before. This looks familiar. The library, right? Click on Dungeon Alchemist and then click where it says Workshop over here, right? Once you click Workshop, it'll show like highlighted objects that have been kind of downloaded a lot recently. But if you look here, it says Your Files. If you click that and go to Subscribed Items, you can unsubscribe from all or unsubscribe from them one at a time by clicking. It's much faster than inside of Dungeon Alchemist. Man, stuff like that, though, be very careful uploading. I do not recommend in the least uploading assets that have licensing and copyright issues. Just because you found it somewhere for free online doesn't mean you can share it, you know, for free as well. I just would hate for people's accounts to get like banned or shut down. On occasion, I get reports of like objects that get reported and stuff like that. We had a creator in our community approach me and he's like, my account got like temporarily locked because a bunch of assets I uploaded were reported or something. Felt bad. It's like, well, I couldn't do anything about it. And even Steam has you read like terms and conditions saying you won't do that. So be very, very careful. I know it is awesome. Downloading them, I don't know if it's a problem so much as uploading them. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just a word to the wise. Unless you made the asset yourself from scratch, I wouldn't, or it has a Creative Commons tag on it, a licensing allowing you to share it, then do not. Columbariums. Let's do more than one grave today. Thank you for the likes and sharing the live, Artful Darkness. Much appreciated. How are you doing today? Thinking like a chess piece. What else do we got in here? I'll be honest with y'all. I download so many maps and assets each week, checking them out. I often have to unsubscribe from assets twice a week just to like make sure my Dungeon Alchemist runs good. It's crazy. You don't need to do that anymore, Paul, just disable collisions and then the object scaling's unlocked. So that's the old school method, man. You need to tune into the streams. You're doing stuff like 2 years ago style. That used to be the method, like people would work around it when we first launched and stuff. But ever since the collision toggle was added, you can just scale an object infinitely. So this is this object's max, right? Let's turn off collisions. The only objects that are like, and this allows you to scale them way down or way up. So you need a snail. Here's my sandstone snail. We're going to just make it massive. This is just a statue, but you get the idea. Yeah, I just put a drum. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking that swamp. Is it Pavel? Well, you said I could call him Paul. I just kind of am getting used to remembering that. I'm wonderful, Artful Darkness. How are you? Thinking a book. I like to just go through each thing and find something and then move on to the next thing and then grab something out of it. So it diversifies it just by shifting categories. Bracelet. How about not something way fancy, but I guess we could do like a locket. at the moment, I'm not aligning actually anything with this. These little shelves, they act as surfaces. I know that from experience, but I'm putting the object on the surface as its kind of normal size. I'll show you an example. And then I scale it down. Control, though, if you look at the bottom of this object panel, it says shift to place multiple objects, control, toggle, snap to grid. So whenever you're holding an object, any object, right? If you hold control, it'll snap. If it already snaps, by default, if the object has a snapping mechanism, if you hold control, it disables the snapping mechanism. And if so, in this case, actually, this probably does have a snapping mechanism normally. Nope, it doesn't. Okay. Anyway, if you hold control, you can jump around and find a snapping point, but not every snapping point is ideal with where you want to build, right? By the way, Control Z, Control Y, great tools, undo, redo. I use them all the time when I'm building. Raise of hands, map makers. How often do you use undo, redo? Paul, is your name pronounced Pavel? Is that the correct way? I kind of wait until this, I disable collision so I can sneak it in there, and I get it on the shelf, and then I resize it until it's right. Problem is this camera angle doesn't zoom in far enough for me to really see, so I'm kind of just eyeballing it. Though I can grab the cinematic camera here and just zoom in if I needed to. Okay, I will just start calling you Pavel because I'd rather get your name correct. My bad. The thing about it, unsubbing all is a good way to make sure your DA runs really smooth, right? But it also, yeah, I can double check for the most part. Other than that, the candle and that chess piece looks huge. But yeah, it looks pretty good. But if you clean out your sub list, right, your DA will load fast. And anytime you open a map that needs the assets, it'll prompt you to download them. So unless you're on like a very strict data plan with your provider, that it's like you only have so much data a month, or you have throttled internet speeds if you go over a certain amount of data, you may want to, you know, hold on to some of your favorite assets and not unsubscribe from all. But ultimately, it's a good way to kind of purge your DA and let it run really smooth. Multiple times during this stream alone. Hey, Pavel, you can ask as many questions as you'd like. That's what I'm here for. I am here to provide insight, guidance. You know, basically, like I said, I like to think of myself as like a teacher or a mentor in your map making adventures and journey, you know? So if you have any needs for assistance when it comes to map making and Dungeon Alchemist, feel free to ask. I will not get upset. This is my job. I have one of the coolest jobs in the world, I think. See here, let's do some tools. Could I do like a mini keg? Like this cask, I'll just drink it way down. I swear there was a barrel that's much smaller. Sideways barrel. Or maybe I've just always shrunk it. That's what it was. So I will add, if collisions are off and you find an object that won't resize, it's because it's locked to like the wall or the terrain. Like pits and wall mounting objects often cannot be resized. They're locked into a specific size. But other than that, 99% of objects, like 99.9% of objects can be unlocked by disabling collisions, and then you can scale them way up or way down. By the way, when you unlock scaling, several things happen. So when you unlock the collisions, You can resize objects down and up. You can raise them up and down. See this arrow here? You can raise objects up and down to have them floating or sunk into the ground or stacked on top of each other. Okay. And then lastly, you can merge them together when normally they would interfere with each other and give you that little red icon and bump out, right? So now you could merge objects together to make new and unique objects. This is great with like rocks and hedges and stuff like that when you want to make like different looking stuff. Orichalcon, welcome back. How you doing? Been a while since I've seen you around these parts. What's new with you? I'm glad we are helping your campaign. I love to hear that Dungeon Alchemist is making campaigns a success. Like, obviously, the DMs are the driving force and they're players, but I love to hear that we're part of it. You know what I mean? So very soon, you'll be able to just use the room draw tool to make multi-level structures. Right now, you could generate, say, a house at a different height because you can raise it up before you generate it, right? Or lower it down before you generate it with this, with this little arrow right here. So you could build something technically underground or raise it up on a hill or something like that. But if you want to build a multi-level structure right now until the update is done, or until the update is released next month, it has to be done by hand. Anything above the base level using the room generation tool has to be done with objects. And if you go to the object menu, structural, you have thousands of structural objects, but my favorite part of the menu is the freestanding wall menu. That's what these came from. That's a freestanding piece of wall that can be put anywhere at any height, as long as you disable collisions, like we were just talking about previously. When you disable collisions, you can raise the walls up and down as long as they're an object. So I found the matching wall in this list, right? Do this again for posterity. Snap it into place with control, so it's like in a good little snap point on the grid. I raise it up a little bit, snap it into this next spot. It's a little high. I'll just lower it down until it's right. So that starts my wall for my second floor, right? Maybe I want flooring. Okay, and here I use platforms, wooden ones, but there's also, so there's wooden platforms, stone platforms, metal platforms, stone construction pieces. Some of these are just a flat piece of wood or stone that can be used like a floor. These are great. Raise that up. Then you got like a flattened ceiling. Or you can get on the Steam Workshop under the Browse Asset section and download roofing and put those on top of stuff. Until we launch the update, though, that's the best bet, is doing it by hand. Oh, Orichalcon, I appreciate the kind words and the love. And for you dropping by. It means the world to me. What you been up to as of late? Honestly, I appreciate it when y'all find time to drop in. I know life and work, family, friends, hobbies, those obligations always come first. I think Dungeon Alchemist is very low on the totem pole, unless, of course, you're probably making a map and you're like, I need to know something right now, Mac, help me. So ultimately, I get it. If you're, busy and got things going on, everyone, don't worry. If you can't make it to the stream for a while, I'm not going to get upset. Maybe I might. Get a little mortar and pestle. Yeah, Thomas, that's kind of what I'm here for, is to kind of like guide you to more advanced building concepts and maybe give you ideas that you didn't think of. So anytime you have questions or concerns, drop in the stream. And I will do my best to, typed it wrong, to guide you, Little wooden one. That on this. We also love talking campaign prep and counter ideas, stat blocks, homebrew, all sorts of stuff. We talk about the campaign I'm in a lot right now, where I'm playing with my family and friends. Honestly, it's just a fun place to hang out. At the end of the day, I hope y'all think of this place as a fun place to just kind of chill and vibe, and you know what I mean? I'm here to enable you. Let me enable you, bros. Oh, hey, Swamp, thank you. Thank you so much for the follow. I missed that earlier. Oh my gosh, right, Black Death? There's a lot of people in our community are kind of putting their campaigns or maps on hold while they do that. Let me save really quick because it's been a hot minute since I've done it. Save twice because that scared me. And then we'll pull up some clips from the next update. Y'all want to see some teasers for a minute? Oh, hey, Thomas Sprue Lost says hi. And you'll be on Discord after he eats. I didn't know you guys can't see each other chats. I guess one of you is on vertical and one of you is on wide. That might be the reason. So in this clip, it kind of illustrates multi-level and how you can transition between the floors really easily. So you can do it one of two ways with this new little UI widget here with the up-down arrows. If there's not a floor there currently, it adds a new floor, right? And prompts you if you want to add rooms, then you can. Until you add a room though, the new floor, when you add it, it looks like a blank like this, and then you can click the room tool, draw in rooms in little sections or the whole entire space. But if you look carefully, this bottom floor is like a big open floor plan pub, right? And then there's like the bar, a staircase in the corner leading up, right? And there's the front door. When you, I unpaused it the second I paused. No. Okay. When you look here, that's that same staircase transitioning upstairs. There's a little transition space to a public latrine there, right? And then a hallway door leading to rooms. So you could have, you know, second floor with some in rooms, and here is like a really nice fancy room, or maybe the tavern keeper's room, right? He probably lives there. Or it could be like a really fancy room for someone noble or whatever that wants a private space. Little balcony here over that, and that's where the door is to enter, just below. But when it gets up to the top, it's a blank slate that you can essentially draw rooms into using the room tool. It'll automatically just put like a generic roof on each level. You can change it between flat or angled roofs and different style roofs. There's tons of different roofing, like 30 different roofing options in both flat and angled. So like between, I think, 50 and 60 total options. But this is a fully navigable map in first person. You can walk from top to bottom in it without any issues. So let me discuss what's going on. So people are asking about backwards compatibility and stuff. So Dungeon Alchemist, this is the first update we've ever had in our entire, you know, since we launched into early access. So almost 3 years. Well, 3-ish years, right? 3+ years, I should say. And this is the first update, not the first update we've had, but the first update we've had that isn't fully backwards compatible. Okay. Every update to this point, we've managed to keep it very fully backwards compatible. So what this next update will mean for you, and I want you all to listen very, very carefully. Okay. And I will answer questions after this, but I'm going to explain it in great detail. So I hope you get it on the first pass. Okay. Maps made prior to the update prior to Fun with Objects, okay, they can still be opened, they can still be edited, they can still be played with, okay? You're not losing those maps. They're still very functional maps from the workshop, maps in your collection, maps your friends sent you. Very, very accessible. And you could still edit them and make adjustments to them. But multi-level features, this widget in the top right corner will be locked in legacy maps, i.e. maps made before Fun with Objects. So if you make a map today, when Fun with Objects launches, you won't be able to add a second floor to it, okay? And there's currently no mechanism in Dungeon Alchemist, either currently or on the roadmap, at least for this update, where you'll be able to merge two maps together, okay? So about the only way to merge two maps is to take an image of one and put that image into the second map, right? As like a lower floor or an upper floor. Alexander, sometime next month. July is the date as I can give right now. Exactly, Pavel. Each floor will be its own export, and we've made a batch exporter to help support this. So when you export a multi-level map such as this, it will do 3 exports. First floor, second floor, roof. In a batch. And the batch exporter has tons of extra features too. So things like you can set different variations of a map and save those variants. So maybe you wanted a morning, afternoon, evening, night, snow. Maybe you wanted one that was 72 DPI and 150 DPI. Maybe you wanted one that was animated and non-animated. You essentially can set up all those variants in the batch exporter as individual variants, and then just click export all, and it'll go one after another until they're all done. You can just set it and forget it at night before you go to bed, or step away for a bit, go do something else. There is no new format, Swamp. They'll be exported the exact same, okay? The thing is just your old maps will still be able to open, you'll still be able to edit them, you just won't be able to add multi-level structures to them using the multi-level and the room tool. So if you want to do multi-level on old maps, it'll still have to be done by hand using objects, like the way I've shown you guys a couple times today. Captain Pierce, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Importing the Foundry is going to be the exact same. It's just each level will be its own scene. So using something like, you know, Monk's Active Tiles or the Levels module, you should be able to set up an interaction when, say, your players hit the staircase on the bottom floor. When they start walking up there and their token hits it, it'll transition to the next scene, which is floor 2. Now, building it allows you to build a much more fluid, you know, setup and see it all in a 3D space, so you know how the floors transition to each other. Will they work? Does it make sense in a, you know, do they stack on top of each other correctly? But essentially, the exports will have to accommodate to the systems they work with, which that's probably the best way to work within Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, etc., because they don't really have true multi-level. Yeah, unfortunately, Swamp, there's not even a way to do that now. Like, there's really no way to take a map and copy parts of it into another one. Like, you can save as and split off a map and divert it, but if it was made before Fun with Objects, there's no way you can add multi-level features to it. At the end of the day, that's all there is. Ah, Pavel, how you doing? Yeah, honestly, Facebook is so hit or miss. Some days there'll be a ton of people, some days there's only one. Hey, Combusted, each to their own, right? You know, like, I understand that. I think each of them has their kind of their pros and cons, right? I've played a little bit with almost all major VTTs, and I've seen that The subtle differences are interesting and different approaches to development, right? And community insight and feedback. But I ultimately think they all kind of have their own pros and cons. I think of them like, I don't know, when you're a DM, when you're preparing for your sessions, right? You have all these tools in your tool belt, so to speak, right? Or your toolbox that you use for prep. You have a map making tool. You have maybe a soundscape tool, or maybe you download music, or maybe you use a virtual tabletop, or you play in person, do lighting effects or effect packs in your virtual tabletop. All these things combine together to make a production, right? The gameplay. You know, your table of players, all of those things. But it's kind of hard to do the job with just like one tool, right? So at the end of the day, like everybody's kind of got their tool sets that they prefer, their styles of making things and you know, working around the problems. So I love Fantasy Grounds. The team over at Fantasy Grounds is always amazing to us. In fact, like 2 days ago, we had their community manager in our stream. She is amazing. Bella is awesome. I honestly love their community and the people in our community who use Fantasy Grounds as well. The thing, I don't even see them as competitors when you think of Foundry and Fantasy Grounds. They're like two separate tools that provide similar but different things. You know what I mean? Okay, let's show another clip. So in this clip, you're seeing abstract lighting, which is a very impressive and powerful new tool in the next update that will allow you to add essentially invisible light sources to your map. This will, in essence, allow you to turn dark areas into more well-lit areas without adding hundreds of candles and lamps. So I made that like bar area feel much more bright and vibrant. So there's these invisible lamps, like spotlights and lamps. So one just kind of does like a little round shroud and one does a directed light. You can change the color, the intensity. You can change the location, obviously, some up, some down. Did I miss Thomas's question? How is Dungeon Alchemist these days? Well, a lot's been going on. We got a major update coming out in the next month, which will add multi-level roofing, abstract lighting, as you see here. Hey, Dream Big, how you doing? How you doing? But Dungeon Alchemist is essentially just constantly adapting and under development. Our dev team, they love taking the feedback I grab from our community and taking it to heart. They love all the suggestions and insight y'all share on our upvoty suggestion board. They're always, taking community insight into account when they're planning each update. And that's where features like, multi-level and roofing come from. That wasn't something we promised in our Kickstarter. If any of y'all remember, that was definitely not promised in the Kickstarter. So it is, oh wow, 1K likes. Thank you so much, TikTok, and thank you for sharing the live, Dream Big. Much appreciated. We've been developing extra features in parity with our Kickstarter planned features, right? And stretch goals from Kickstarter. So the Fun with Objects update, we ended up packing so much into it. The devs were like, man, we might have to delay this till the end of the year if we want to get everything we were going to do in it. And they didn't want to do that. So they ended up splitting it into two pieces. So Fun with Objects 1 is coming out in July and Fun with Objects 2 sometime later this year. But we'll get multi-level, batch exporting, abstract lighting, a whole bunch of features. Now there is one thing that I found out today that will not be in the next update that I was really hoping would be. And I'm sure this is going to disappoint some of you. The decal tool. I actually found out this morning the decal tool is not going to make it into Fun with Objects 1. Hey, Lauren Zader, how you doing? It really is great for room decor, for sure, Combusted Lemon. So the decal tool will be in Fun with Objects 2. Which is a bummer. I know a lot of you were very excited for it. Yeah, I mean, like, I think after Fun with Objects is done, we have Tricks and Traps, right? Water Worlds, High Seas, and Instant Dungeons. So 4 left. I also kind of been hearing rumblings about future plans, like what we're going to do after early access. Anyway, the future's going to be bright. Let's just say that. There's some things on the horizon I think y'all will be very excited for. Honestly, I don't think we'll be adding any cartoon filters of any kind that I'm aware of, Lauren Zader. Sorry. I haven't heard of anything like that, though you could throw a suggestion for it up on our upvoty. I can't drop a link in our Discord, but we have a suggestion board. If you just Google Dungeon Alchemist upvoty, or if you drop in our Discord, we can give you a link to it. Yeah, the thing is like there's talk, but it's nothing solid, right, Remy? There's discussions of like some sort of standalone accompanying tool that would pair with Dungeon Alchemist perfectly, like peanut butter and chocolate. And it would be like Dungeon Alchemist's exclusive VTT meant for it. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. We're making Dungeon Alchemist fit all the other VTTs the best we can. Could you imagine if we had our own VTT where, you know, Dungeon Alchemist essentially is perfectly compatible with it, and maybe some of the features that are in Dungeon Alchemist are compatible with it, such as like animated objects and stuff like that. It'll most likely be in Fun with Objects 2. I don't think there's going to be a delay beyond that, my friend. Oh. But I don't know when Fun with Objects 2 is launching, so that could be anytime between now and the decay of the universe. One thing you can do when you export, remember when you're exporting, try not to do a direct top down if you can avoid it. The 3D top down, where it's kind of a fisheye, gives a lot better perspective on walls and edges, makes it easier to tell what's what, Lauren Zader. So when you're exporting, right? Oh goodness. I've heard this complaint before, and it's usually like where the walls and stuff are. People are like, what is that? It's hard to see. If you export as like an image, right, and you set the perspective instead of top down to say limited or perspective 3D, it will help tremendously. Because when it's flattened, it is kind of hard to tell what's wall and what's floor if they're the same color. Another thing too is do contrasts. So have a wall color that's a different color than the floor will help contrast them tremendously. So it's easy to tell where the wall is if you want to do a flattened map. So if you insist on doing a flattened map, try and make sure that whatever is, you know, the walkway is different than the floor. So if it's brown floor, do a white wall, or if it's a, you know what I mean? Kind of contrast them to make them stand out when they're next to each other. I will say though, Tabletop Simulator is something we're not directly compatible with, and it's something that we don't really ever plan on offering a 3D export for. And I don't know if the devs would ever kind of tone down the quality of Dungeon Alchemist per se to make it look toonier or cartoonier to accommodate to something like that. There may be like filters or something like that, like an image filter you could throw on any image that might add hard lines to the edges and stuff. Trying to think what might do that. Okay. Hey, no worries, Lauren Zader. I wish I had more options for you. You could try a different virtual tabletop, you know what I mean? Which in turn might have better compatibility. You know, something like Foundry or even above VTT is free. You could try that out and see if your players might like that. I do know Tabletop Simulator is great because it does more than just D&D. It does lots of games, and it's all 3D and interactive and VR and all those things all at once. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever offer a direct compatibility in a way with it where it's like you can dig into it that way. Oh, nice, ID. How did that go? That's cool. Did you take any pictures of that? Love to see that in our Discord or whatever, or if you posted it on your TikTok or whatever video or anything, I'd love to see it. Realize there's a lot of tools in that corner, so get away from tools for a second. Let's do flowers. Some nature. We'll do like a potted plant. I think it's huge. Let's put not like a traditional bouquet of. Oh, I'm not looking in the right page. What? Put some poppies in. And I'm going to just shrink them together. Single unit. Pop the poppies. Here. Done. I'll leave that last one. Ooh, I started filling that side. A little few spots there. And fill it up. Hey, see you later, Pavel. Appreciate you dropping in, and feel free to drop in anytime you got questions, concerns, suggestions, feedback. Maybe you just want to hang out with like-minded GMs. You're always welcome, okay? Thinking a wand. Fun thing to add. Oops. Lost it. That's been bumping today. Thank you, mods, for helping me keep on track of things today. I appreciate all the mods being here. By the way, very, very, very soon I'll have information related to your early access, and so you can start testing and getting familiar so you understand and can answer questions. But also very soon I'll have the updated date schedule for the reveal streams. This week, office hours is canceled. Confirmed. My wife, her annual rheumatology appointment is this Wednesday at 9 in the morning. I cannot miss it. It takes a whole year for us to get in to see her rheumatologist because she's so busy. We have to schedule a year in advance. As soon as we leave the appointment, we schedule again, and it literally is a year out. So, but she has to see her to get all her medications renewed and stuff. So, her prescriptions. So essentially, we cannot miss this appointment. And her medication assortment, she's not supposed to drive, so I have to take her. Oh, hey, thanks, Cronkler. I got this new mic, man, and I think it's like 90% of the job right there is having good equipment. I think it'll make the VO really good going forward. That, and, you know, I just recovered from being sick, so my voice wasn't shredded anymore. So the 28th will be the Dam Challenge stream. So between now and the end of day 27th, if you want to enter the Nightmare Dam Challenge map making contest, use Nightmare as inspiration, make a map of any shape or size, and submit that map to the Dam Challenge channel in our Discord using the rules pinned at the top of the channel. So when you're in that channel, there's a little pinned section. You could see the rules. 4 rules, really easy to follow. As long as you follow those rules with your submission, your entry counts and has a chance to win. If you're the winning map, your map is featured on the stream Saturday, the Dams Challenge stream. It's the first map featured. Gets about 20-30 minutes of FaceTime with our community. Your map is featured in our weekly newsletter, the Cartomancer Chronicles, just like the most recent winner, Chim, whose open road map, which is actually kind of like a remake of the US and representing ancient, like, stops from Kerouac's On the Road book. You know, great representation in the map build, but also just a fun build and a cool theme. Next theme, like I said, is Nightmare. So use that that theme, make something fun, submit it to the Dam Challenge channel. You might have a chance to win, both having your map represented in our weekly newsletter, but on the stream. But you also win a prize. You get a $10 Hero Forge gift card, which you can then use to buy yourself a token or two, depending on the sales on Hero Forge, and you can import it directly into Dungeon Alchemist. I've actually imported quite a few tokens. Here's one, an artificer I built for a previous campaign. This is my wife's cleric from a previous campaign. It's very fun to build a token on Hero Forge and import it into Dungeon Alchemist, especially when you can get it for free. Anyway, Joel, so we're Fun with Objects is the next release, the next update, and it's being split into 2 parts because it was so big. So Fun with Objects Part 1, Fun with Objects Part 2. After that, we have 4 major releases that I know of. Tricks and Traps, Water Worlds, High Seas, and Instant Dungeons. So essentially, we have 5 major updates remaining. We're at the cusp of 4. Hey, thank you guys and gals for all the well wishes. Honestly, the appointment's usually chill. It's just, you know, we have to go there, wait, go in, wait, talk to the lady for 5 minutes, get all her, she looks over her blood work and asks her any questions, and my wife asks her questions, and then we get her prescription renewed for another year, which keeps her, you know, her stuff in check. So it's like a necessity. You know, we have to get like eye tests and blood work and all this stuff done every year to make sure she can keep getting the medication she needs to stay alive. So it is what it is. Anyway, not that I'm disenfranchised with the American healthcare system or anything. I hope you all have an amazing week. Like I said, will not be here Wednesday, but I'll be back Saturday, and I'll be around on Discord and social media. So if you have any questions, need support, or have questions about the update, feel free to ask. We actually activated the autoresponder bot in Discord today. So if people start asking about the update in Discord, it'll automatically reply, because I now know enough to put the information in there to know what will be in the update. I was literally waiting to find out until this last weekend to know what would be the final patch notes. Kind of crazy, because I can't make a trailer unless I know what's going to be in the update, you know what I mean? Like, it's been frustrating, but it is what it is. That's development. Cronkler, what you been up to? Phoenix, it's a bummer you didn't have any pictures, but I get it. It happens. So, let's put a potted plant over there. Let's do another one here, because that was like simple little flower. Let's do sunflowers too big. Let's do a downloaded set if I size the map. Let's do some data. Okay. Daisy, Daisy. Oh, for the love of you. What else can I put here? Do another helmet. I think that's the hardest part, is just randomly assigning items to these graves to like add significance to them. Like, what is this? I didn't know I could do that. If I can figure that out, maybe I will. But honestly, like, I was asked months ago to put it up, but I didn't know what to put in it because I didn't have a for sure list of like features. The community kept asking. I'm like, when I know, I will let you know. I just felt bad. Like, what do I say and do in those situations? It's like, there really is no like, I really hate when I don't have an answer. I guess that's me as a community manager, really getting frustrated when I can't tell you something. Whoa, the dagger is a monster. Let's do another book. Books. Oh my goodness. Fair. Because it was like lost. Two or three more on this aisle. Canopic jar. I don't know about you, but I like it when my graveyards have goulds in them. Not ghouls, goulds. Big difference. Whoa, what just happened? Whoa. Dreams just crashed for anyone else? Because they all went blank for me. Cool. Okay, cool. That was awkward. It just seemed like it crashed on my end. Don't do the crash. I'll be a better community manager, I promise. No, that's... These details that no one will ever see, I'm wasting so much time on. How about a kettle? else can we put in here that signifies these people's deaths? Let's do some food and drink type stuffs. How about like a mug? Rolls. Cool. Thank you, Thomas, for verifying. We'll do a few like food items and then we'll do some scrolls. That's a good suggestion. I like that. I like doing like a little tea bag here and there. One of Remy's tea bags. Maybe a bottle of wine over here. Have y'all ever changed the label on the wine to make like a private label, your own personal label for your players? Pretty funny. We'll put the snake oil here to remember him. It's he lived the way he died, drinking snake oil. Or he died the way he lived, drinking snake oil. That's how they remember him. It's fine for anyone to remember me by my favorite coffee cup. Mondu, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Can't put a light source as much as I'd like to because man, oh man, do they get bright. Turn them all down. And universal scaling cannot come soon enough. That's a feature coming on the next update. You could set the scale of the entire object menu to anywhere between 50% all the way up to 200%. So they'll all be scaled down or all be scaled up every time you just grab them. They're automatically scaled down. Saves a lot of time. Oh no. Honestly, I'm just kind of algorithming it. I'm jumping from menu to menu, so I'm bound to like skip into things that people are thinking. Ah, Ninja, that's interesting. That's funny, actually. So wait, he thought the grittiness was the dirty kitchen when in reality it was someone trying to poison him. Ooh, maybe I should put some spider webs in one of them like it's nothing's in it. Good idea. Executive decision. It's happening. I like adding spider webs on my bookshelves and stuff sometimes. Like the corner of a room. These don't have any things in them or they haven't been visited in so long. Look, we could cover up Ooh, I like that. That's fun. That's really funny. Honestly, so it's funny. As a player, I understand why they didn't get it, because it's like you're so focused in the moment trying to like absorb everything that once in a while you miss the most crucial details, right? I swear, my group is no exception. We constantly, I feel like, are overlooking things, but at the same time, like over analyzing everything. I overanalyze too much. I am sure I drive my DM crazy at times. But I do like adding minor details that make people either think it's something important when it's not. Those are like one of my favorite and most irritating video game items. Like, why did they put this here? I ask myself asking a lot. Someone developed this and put this here. Why? That's the mentality I like to leave my players sometimes too when I'm designing maps. Like, wait, what is this here for? So at the end of the day, they're like confused and ask questions. Seisu, you gave your players a chance to get magic items with an Easter egg and they didn't find it. I'm starting to worry about your players as a whole. You should just say, can you pull out the stick of destiny, please? You've been carrying it all this time. I just want you to know that you now need to use the stick of destiny to add fuel to your fire. Because it's about to burn out. Raise of hands, how many people here have spent way too much time in front of a door? Either as a player or as the DM watching the players just absolutely just destroyed by a door. "45 sessions. An unlocked door, no less. You gave them an ion stone named Billy Crystal. Stop, I'm dying. Don't do this. Oh my god. So I've learned that I've wasted too much time at doors in the past, and my new mentality is check for traps. If there's no traps, is the door unlocked? Yes or no? Then move on. If you're anticipating traps, especially if it's just like a normal door, then probably not. Right? Like our last session, we went up to a door that was the back entrance to the big bads. I checked it for traps, and there was 4 traps on it, 2 magical, 2 physical. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with these. We're going to go in another way. And He's like, do you want to try a window? And I'm like, I have a feeling they'll all be just as trapped as this. So I'm going to say no. Let's try another method. And I have Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments, which I like to just use to kind of just make a door. That's the main thing I use it for, make a door. I've used it creatively a couple times, but that's the main thing. So I just said, you know what? Let's figure out where this guy is. The party has a sentient dagger that can track known entities within 60 feet. And I just said, hey, can we track him and see if he's around? And they walked for a little bit and pinpointed his location in the center of the compound, the building. So we were like, let's just go up on top of the building and we'll cut a hole in the roof and go get him. And we got up on the building, and lo and behold, it's actually like a building with a courtyard, and the big bad's in the courtyard. So as soon as we come over the roofing, he sees us and we start combat. So we actually walked right to the big bad, avoided all his minions, avoided all his traps. I love it. The triangulator. It's called the Lady in Red. It's got a like an Eladrin personality in it, ghost, who little sassy, and she can read magical text and talk with you telepathically, and can track beings that you have seen before. Additionally, it's insane this item does not require attunement. Not sure why, but it doesn't. So, you know, whatever. And lastly, it has kind of a neat little kind of a minor monkey paw ability where you can essentially, the person who is holding it, it stabs them, right? And it kind of bonds to them with that way. And you can throw the dagger, and then you can teleport to the dagger, but it takes 1 HP every time you do that. It takes some of your blood to teleport to it. But so essentially, man, I haven't thought of Naruto in a few years. Thank you for bringing up some memories. I used to watch that with my kid all the time. I essentially, like, we use this dagger in the most creative ways, and we hand it around the party to different people. Like if we're trying to track someone and we're trying to be stealthy about it, our shapeshifter has it. Or if our fighter wants to get crazy with it, we'll let him use it so he can get more maneuverable and get around the battlefield faster. We kind of thought it might be a neat way to infiltrate a place sometime, because we could essentially teleport to it anywhere as long as the dagger's there and it hasn't been handled. So like if we put it inside of like, you know, like a bag and handed it over to someone and put it in like a treasury to be held or a bank to be stored, then everyone could teleport. I could teleport to it, or someone in our party could teleport to it, but then we could have the whole party in bags of holdings or something like that. Ah, bird's nest. I like that. I do have a bird's nest on the map in one other spot, but this is a good idea. What I'm going to do, though, is put all the eggs and stuff here, stage it as a much larger. And I can move this whole nest because it's considered a single piece because they're all on top of it. I'm going to get it into that spot, and I'm going to crank it. Just crank it. But I think I could put the nest on top, and that would be more impactful. Right? Like a bird's just made this into a little nest. I could put one inside, or I could put one on top. User's choice, viewer's choice. Which one? Well, there is no inside out stuff there. There would only be one bag of holding involved because it's essentially like a Misty Step teleport. So as long as I have the bag of holding with the people inside that I need with me, right? Or a portable hole would work too, either or. Just throw a bunch of people inside and then teleport to the location with them and then dump them out of the bag, right? Or the portable hole. I also do have access to Air Bubble, which, I mean, is a great spell to have if you want to store someone in a bag of holding for a while. Because there really is no mechanic to escape a bag of holding. And if the person inside is just bound and gagged and air bubbled and, you know, they kind of just really have to stay there for 24 hours at least. Unless, of course, they pop the... Is there a select last object keybind? Not that I'm aware of. Anyone in chat know of one? I will be the first to admit I'm not aware of one. So I don't think so. Do a little axe. Oh, we got one there. Do a beehive. How we live. Put the beehive right next to the pot of honey. That's kind of brutal. Let's put this one in another one. Let's try and do a little a kettle or something like that. Ooh, I wanted to put one of these. A parcel. This is not a drug drop off at all. This is not a dead drop for drug dealers. Okay. I don't know. It could be more like it's just like a bundle of private items that they wanted to keep there, but not necessarily have everyone have access. You know, like a bundle of clothing or whatever. A private effigy. We're so full of puns today. Might as well admit that I'm a dad. Here. Let's see here. What else can we put in there? Man, I can't recall a fantasy game that I played where you didn't end up in a graveyard at some point. I remember in the old Baldur's Gate games, so they did this unique thing where it's like if you played the old game and you collected certain items, those items could come with you to the next game and so on. But it was only very specific items, right? And they were like simple items you wouldn't expect to carry and want to keep. So there was like silver pantaloons and stuff like that, right? Like all the or golden pantaloons or something. But it was like a shirt and pants and like gloves that you would get, and they were useless all by themselves, but you could take them somewhere and get them crafted into this Easter egg item that turns you into like an iron golem. Hey, Julia, welcome back. How are you today? So imagine, if you will, you look normal the whole campaign, and then for like the last third of it or whatever, you could be this massive iron golem, and it was pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. But it also required you gathering a really random item from each game and holding on to them for 3 games. But and I think you could you had like a level 5 magic missile shooting out of your one arm or something. It was like a really crazy skin. It was very cool. But this was like before the internet, you know? So how did people figure that stuff out back in the day? I have to think that like devs were constantly leaking stuff like that for Easter eggs to like get their community in the know. You know what bugs me the most about the chef section? You know what really grinds my gears? There is a chef hat for this chef section, and nowhere in the chef section is a chef hat. Oh man, makes me want to scream a little bit. So they're all a set height to a degree, but you can remove the flooring in each level and then vault the room out. Let me show you really quick. Stand by. Oh, okay. So in this video, it's probably a downloaded asset, my friend. Hopefully it works. So you have the ability to delete floor tiles on new rooms now. There's this new floor tool called delete floor tiles, right? So you can delete floor tiles from a room relatively easy without deleting the room now, which is great. You could delete floor tiles in the center of a floor room or a upper room. And what this allows you to do is do like balconies, but you could bring it all the way out to the edge and just get rid of all of it. So it would be like a vaulted room. Does that make sense? So instead of it just being this balcony or a mezzanine or whatever, it would be just delete the walls all the way to the edge, go up another floor. You could have a 30-foot ceiling if you wanted to, or whatever. Though you can't increment its heights you want, you can get the ceilings really high and vaulted. That kind of shows a vault space. Here it is. Sorry, I reorganized my videos recently, and I had the old teasers separated. I'd forgotten. So in this one, you can kind of see a vaulted ceiling with like staircases and pillars and stuff. It essentially allows you to kind of shape it into different heights that you want to a degree, but you can't say, hey, I want it 1 foot this high on this side or whatever. It's always going to be kind of set increments, but you can make it like a 50-foot vaulted ceiling in one room. Hey, Fog, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Let's see. Blacksmith. But what is this thing? I don't know what it is. We'll put it in there. Like something from a sci-fi movie. Let us put Steve. Maybe they were a gold panner. Found any gold though. Let's see what else we can put in. Oh, little bottle of something. Some bones. Couple of bones never hurt anyone. Or more. Universal object scaling's coming in the next update. In fact, I'm working on a teaser for this that'll be probably released either today or tomorrow. I'm waiting for graphics. I don't like releasing teasers without universal graphics and art and music. I've been struggling to find a track that I'm happy with, so I'm probably going to just use some of our older tracks until I do. But graphics is important to me, to have it all say that it's in this update, and you know what I mean? It's just like very clear. Anyway, there's no shortcuts for them. Unless there's a shortcut visibly present on the item that you could see, then no. So often they'll be like when you're looking at the object menu like these here, or if there's a shortcut, it'll say right in the name of it usually. So for erase objects, you can jump to the erase objects tool with Control Shift X. So I could hurry and erase this whole section if I wanted to. But the brush's size and density and stuff have to be adjusted manually. You know, as much as I would love to listen to like specific artists and shout them out on the stream, unfortunately, we can only use royalty-free music from a very specific list of music. We are, after all, a very small indie company, and we don't want to, you know, blow our budget on, say, music licensing or lawsuits for our stream. Oh, for the Universal? Yeah, still can't do it in that either. Have to be something that's like, I buy music license for a simple track that I can use hundreds of thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of plays, but it's usually from like an individual artist. So I support indie artists and buy tracks that way. Honestly, USMC Ninja, I go on a website, okay? There's this website I use. Here, check this out. Audio Jungle is a website I've used in the past, right? I have an account here, and I'll get in and I'll just type in something. Epic fantasy, right? And then it'll punch in a bunch of tracks, and then I'll go down here and I'll say, I want the track to be between, 30 seconds and a minute and a half. And I set a bunch of parameters, and then it starts showing tracks, and it starts dividing them by like who has no sales, who has a lot of sales. So I'll look at some of the high sale ones, because usually they have mass appeal for a reason, and see if I like any. But if I can't find one that I don't like, I'll usually kind of jump into these other categories and see if there's a diamond in the rough. Because a lot of times these sites are algorithmic, so you'll miss out on things because of that, right? And I'll look around and find a song that I feel encapsulates the update, right? And I've done that for every update since Bottom Morgana. And it's been actually really great to have themed music for the trailers, the teasers, and stuff like that. But unfortunately, this particular update, I have had so much trouble trying to get the, I don't know, the vibe of fun with objects as an update. Like it's a hard thing to just kind of quantify. Does that make sense? And when you search like fun, A lot of times it's like kids melodies, or if you search things, sometimes it'll be like horror songs with toys, like the really creepy Jack in the Box noises and like horror scratching. It's like very hard to find something. You know, an easy way to do it, to make it easier on yourself, Chim, is to just jump into the all right, jump into the hellscape biome, right? Sorry, what is it called again? I'm losing my train of thought here. If you jump over into the skeletal plains biome, it almost always is a nightmare by default, so it does help a little bit. I just turned down all the lights over here to be a little bit lower because they were like blinding me, it felt like. Okay. Next, what can we put? Sensor would look okay in here. So, Thomas, I will tell you this one thing. You can never plan for the insanity that will be your player's actions, okay? It's a variable you can't account for. You can narrate all day and have all these plans for your story, and at the end of the day, you got to be prepared to throw them out the window if your players go a different direction. You can still implement your old plans into parts of it. The only way to really force a narrative, right, is to put them into a scenario where they have no way to do anything but that, like a jailbreak scenario, or maybe there's some sort of spell trapping them in a region, some sort of magical, or, you know, they're in a dungeon, they have to escape, any number of things where they're forced to be in an area. I don't see that as railroading so much as it is mechanical and storytelling. You're trying to drive them towards a narrative, right? So if they are put into a scenario where they lose a little bit of agency temporarily, it's not necessarily railroading so much as it's storytelling, in my opinion. Yes, Chim, even if they're all different sources simultaneously. Let me show you. So you find a light source, any light source, okay? Let's say I want all the lights over here to be purple, okay? I'm going to change every light in this general vicinity to purple. So first thing first, I select the light, I change it to purple, right? And then I'm going to adjust the brightness to make sure I'm happy with it. Then, whilst the object is still highlighted and selected, you can either go up into the edit menu and hit copy selected object properties, or just Control-C, Command-C, depending on if you're Windows or Apple. So when you do that, it says object properties copied. It doesn't copy the object to paste the object, it copies the properties of the object. What is the object doing? Is it enabled? Is it disabled? Is it opened? Is it closed? Does it lit up? Is it turned off? So now I just copied the properties of the light in this area. I'm going to do Control-V, which gives me this little kind of drag box, right? I'm going to drag it over this entire area. And now all the lights turned into Halloween mode simultaneously. You can use this to great effect to turn lights off and on. So maybe you want to make the map night mode because it's a night and you want all the lamps and lanterns and street lights on. Or maybe you want to open or close all the doors on a map, right? Maybe enable all the animated objects or disable them simultaneously. The properties of objects can be copied to each other. So let's say I wanted all the doors on this open. Let's open one of them, right? I guess there's no doors in here. Check. Drag it over this. Yeah. Hold on. Let's try this one because it's closed. But this would work with pretty much all the doors in the vicinity and close them. I could do it to this one too if I wanted to. But honestly, usually it's just easier with a single item to do that. But let's say I wanted to turn off all these torches, right? Disable them all. Essentially, the key is just making sure you can drag over this entire space. Whether it's one or two passes, but I just disabled all the lamps. That's the main thing I use it for, is adjusting lighting in mass. This map doesn't have a lot of examples of things you can change in mass, but it's like opening and closing all doors or chests. One thing is, if your map, when you're building, if the animated assets are on, it can really slow down your build and kind of make your computer lag out, so you can disable all the animated objects with a single pass. I've used it to like enable all the fire effects in an area, like all the smoke and things that I had coming out of like what are those things called? Shoot, under nature, like a little rock spire, I guess, and it has like these here geysers. Like these geysers, you can enable them or disable them all at once. So as long as it has like something that you could change, then you could do that. Alternatively, changing the color of plants, for instance. Let's say I wanted all the plants to be this color scheme. Control that, Control V, and then just drag it across. Any of them that are the same plant, it will hopefully change them to a similar color scheme. That makes sense? So one thing I did as I was writing a story, right, Thomas, and my story was, I was essentially, my players got warped or teleported into this region of the Feywild that they've never been to before and they weren't familiar with. And they got teleported there by accident when they were using a teleportation ring at the end of their previous campaign after they had finished everything, right? They had used a teleportation ring a few times, but this one was acting weird. It had some weird, you know, light coming from it, and they just assumed it would be fine, but it ended up being that there is something going on in this region in the Feywild. A vast magical barrier has been cast, blocking off essentially the seat of the Kingdom of Power for a region called Gullringer Dal, right? And essentially, you know, the castle and all of the royals and everyone in it and like them are blocked off from the rest of the kingdom, and they can't get access to any of the trade or any of the stuff coming and going. They can't get new goods and food. And it's essentially a magical blockade that has prevented anyone inside the castle and their like surrounding like kingdom from leaving, right, to go out to the rest of their lands, which is a massive region, like a 300 square mile region that borders along a massive coast, has a like rivers and lakes and ponds, and then it's surrounded by a massive mountain range on all sides. So when I started making that barricade, the intention of the barricade, obviously it messed up their teleportation circle somehow and teleported them here. So they ended up in the wrong place. That's the natural assumption. And the king has hired them because they're one of the only people around who is in the vicinity of the castle who can go investigate it still, because he sent all of his best men, like a bunch of his soldiers, even the prince, and none of them have come back. So essentially, I kind of set up this hook where they had to go find these people, right, and look for them. And my players got to where they could see the barrier and they just didn't want to interact with it. And it was like, that was the narrative. You're supposed to go there. And everything they had found out about it up to that point, it scared them and they thought it was going to kill them. So it's like, sometimes you have to nudge your players a little bit. And I essentially had a random NPC because the narrative was going nowhere and I couldn't convince them narratively to go. I had an NPC show up who, you know, told them that he had watched a bunch of soldiers walk into it. They didn't seem like they were hurt. They just kind of disappeared. And finally, they wanted to go inside of this train, right? Well, what it was is essentially there was a massive illusion covering this road, and it looked like a big wandering train of travelers and traders, a caravan, if you will, full of like covered wagons and camels and horses, and it just went as far as the eye could see in every direction. But as soon as you got close to it, you would just disappear. You couldn't talk to them, you couldn't do anything, and it freaked the players out. Anyway, once they got this information from an NPC, instead of me, they moved on and interacted with it, and it took them into, which was like a magical kind of construct where they were in a series of rooms that they had to solve problems in, whether it was a physical challenge, a fight, a riddle, and then get out of that room and go on to the next room. And I took a lot of inspiration from the TV show Infinity Train for this. So I really wanted like I wrote the narrative around like all my favorite pop culture and stuff. So I really wanted them to get in there. Like, and it took a lot of doing to get them to kind of follow the hook. And I felt like I was railroading, right? And when you hear this out loud, it kind of is a railroading, but a DM has to use a gentle hand, a gentle touch to guide their players towards the narrative. Once in a while, things are going to go off the rails. Okay, it's going to happen. They're going to want to go talk to some NPC that you didn't care about that they think is important, or go visit some area you didn't plan for or have any maps made for. At the end of the day, I think the thing to prepare for the most is just have kind of a loose outline and think of your story instead of more like a tight trail they have to follow. Think of it like a like bumper rails on a bowling alley. You know, they kind of follow the alley, the story to a degree, and they'll bump here into a part of your story and they'll bounce off again and maybe bump into something else, but ultimately it bounces them in the right direction, right? So just think of, if they get off track, eventually they'll bump into something that might guide the narrative back in place, right? If that's important to you, is keeping them on a set narrative. If their narrative ends up being more interesting, embrace it. Because honestly, many times the players will say and do something that you didn't anticipate, and it makes the story that much better for everyone. Well, and this was like our second session as a group too, so there wasn't like a whole lot of group and DM trust, right? Half ogre. And it's just funny how narratively me telling them as an NPC made them more trustworthy. Like, it's hilarious how something so simple can go a long way. But at the end of the day, you got to be kind of clever and find ways to bounce your narrative back where you want it to go, if that's your intention. You know, if your narrative has to follow a very certain plan to take out a certain big bad, at the end of the day, your players should be following it for the most part. There may be side quests and rescuing damsels here and there, or a town needs them to take out a werewolf that's terrorizing them or something. But at the end of the day, they should be kind of following an overarching kind of narrative towards your goal. Hey, by the way, this is all my personal experience. This isn't like anything I've like read or, you know, so take it with a grain of salt. But I also interact with a lot of GMs and DMs right here on this stream and in our Discord. I'd say I'm in a very unique position to get a lot of feedback from a lot of DMs and GMs on that kind of stuff. And that seems to be the general kind of consensus, is you can prepare for everything and your players will still throw you completely for a loop. So the best bet is to kind of have a loose narrative you follow and maybe kind of bounce your players back into it, but embrace the craziness, the chaos, you know what I mean? Because it makes the story that much more fun. You may have to get good at improv sometimes, and improving story, or maybe whip up a map in Dungeon Alchemist really quickly, or download one off the workshop to supplement your players' random whims. But that's why we're here. We got your back. This dude has to be an agent, isn't he? Yep, he's an agent. You got me. If you think that narratively is impressive, by all means, he's an agent. So Thomas, I mean, one thing though, if you're doing a one shot, right, that might evolve into a campaign beyond, definitely after the one shot, sit down and do a session 0. Okay. Trust me, session 0 is important. For a one shot, not so much because it's just a quick thing. But if you guys and gals sat after that session and you're like, man, this was fun, I'd like to do it again, you want to sit down and have what's a session 0, which is essentially kind of a sit down with the group, discuss your plans kind of for the campaign. They can discuss their plans for characters. And you can even do, I've seen these lists that people can fill out like a questionnaire. It allows you to gauge their comfort zones on the table. Maybe certain people have certain fears of, you know, certain things they don't want to see in a game that might, you know, ruin the experience for them, or certain encounters and things they don't want to have. You know, maybe they don't want any dark horror, or, you know, any, you know, children getting maimed, stuff like that. You can find this information out in a session 0. Get all your players on the same page, okay? You also want to make sure your players understand the type of session is going to be. Is this about a chaotic evil group? Is this a chaotic good group? You know, are these going to be a bunch of heroes or anti-heroes? And the thing is you also need to make sure that players who are kind of trying to be there, I mean, everyone wants to play for themselves, but at the end of the day, if it's a group activity, you want to make sure the group melds together, and these session 0s are a good way to find out who a problem player is going to be very quick. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Even the best prepped like session 0s, you could still run into problems later on with drama between players, but it's a good way to kind of suss out if there might be any problems early, because maybe one player wants to be a chaotic evil rogue and murder hobo everyone, where the whole party wants to be like a good party that helps the people. That's probably not going to be a good fit for the table, right? Like, it's fine to have a rogue in the group, but if they're going to be wanting to murder hobo everyone, it probably will get the party into a lot of trouble, and they may end up wanting to not have that person as part of the party, right? So it's good to find, it's a great way to see if there's, you know, chemistry and a good party makeup right out the gate. It's a good way to save your table time, because instead of like, you know, you go and plan all this stuff and one session in someone quits because they're not getting their way, the expectations are clear from the get-go. Let's do another plant. Plant! Wally. Do some orange marigolds. Whoa. Kind of thicken them up by twisting them and having doubles. All I know triples is safest. Darn packed and Man, that must be nice, Swamp, to have a group you've been with for years. So like my group's been playing together for about a half a year now. We play together once a month, and we have a professional DM, GM Eric, who's actually a streamer here on Twitch and great guy. He uses Dungeon Alchemist in his campaigns. But we had a player who we didn't really suss out the problem from session 0 and was acting a little weird, and I was hanging out with him offline, and he said and did some things that were just crossing the line. And so we removed him from the table when we found a suitable replacement. Man, I would kill for a game that lasted 5 years. Y'all don't even know what you got. If you've been, that's like such a blessing in disguise to have such a good group of friends that you could stick it out for that long and just keep going. And you know what I mean? Like, it's something special you've got there. Cherish it, you know? I think half the game is finding a game group of players that you can, like, actually vibe with and enjoy your time. Because it becomes kind of tedious. I think a lot of people are, you know, especially nowadays, have kind of forgotten how to be team players. Like that. I mean, yeah, the biggest bad of all is obviously scheduling conflicts, right? Trying to get a group on the same page for a game. Man, I'm sorry, Rev. That stinks. But hey, you know, you got a new group now, right? Got a new wife now. Yeah, these are my personal opinions at the moment. Thank you, Atlam, for clarifying. Honestly, when we're talking about D&D, it's not anything map related or, you know, DA related. We're just talking about our campaigns and personal preferences. But honestly, when it comes to advice for a game, like, I can only give you so much advice based on my personal experience, and that's what I do. I bring idioms and, you know, tales from my personal anecdotes from my personal life to really, you know, spin up some sort of understanding and like way to make it easier for everyone to really grasp, you know, what's happened. I really, you know, it's teaching from experience, so to speak. No, you could take it or leave it, if you will. Oh, nice, Dyson. That's really cool. Seems like you're playing favorites, though. Like the cool club table. Listen, I'm not gonna judge. Probably your coolest campaign at the moment, huh? Oh, already got that cap on the next style. Let's do something blacksmithish. Oh man, I am way past the time. I didn't even realize. Holy cow. Y'all just kept me going. You sustained me. Sadly, though, I got to wrap it up. I got a lot of work to do today and the next few days to get prepped for the next few weeks, which is going to be insane as we get closer to Fun with Objects. So, we're going to wrap up the stream today, which sadly is a bummer. I don't want to end it. I've been having fun hanging out with y'all, chatting, making this Mapster piece. Appreciate you all tuning in, whether it was your first time or your 50th. whether you were actively chatting or lurking. And I want to say a big special thank you to all the mods that tuned in today. Appreciate you all supporting and helping out. We had a lot of chat. Wouldn't have been able to monitor it all without you. We are getting so close to Fun with Objects. All I can say is July. As soon as I get the go-ahead to give you the 4 sure dates, I will be doing that. You'll see it announced everywhere, social media, Discord, etc. We'll be talking about it on streams. So stay tuned to all of our outlets if you want to know when the date is, okay? And by the way, if you enjoyed today's stream and you want to make sure you catch us in the future, if you haven't already, please hit that follow, hit that subscribe button. That way, you know, we're in your lists of stuff and kind of more visual to you when you're browsing your media content. We stream 3 times a week, okay? 2 multi-streams and 1 Discord exclusive stream, okay? So every Monday, we do Mapmaker Monday, which is a build stream where we hang out, talk about people's campaigns, share teasers, discuss tips and tricks, provide real-time support. Every Wednesday, except for this upcoming Wednesday, because of a doctor appointment I have to take care of, take my wife to. We have office hours in our Discord exclusive stream because they're not included in our multi-streams on the other platforms. So you can hop into Discord, hang out. It is a little bit more laid back than all the other streams, but it's fun because we can share like videos and images and maps. So people will send me their maps and I'll pull them up and look them up in real time and share ideas and critiques and suggestions and feedback. We actually tend to look at a lot of maps fresh before even anyone's shared them on the workshop. So it's kind of fun. Every Saturday, we host an alternating stream, the Damn Stream or the Damn Challenge. So this upcoming stream is the Damn Challenge. The alternating is the Damn Stream. The Damn Challenge is a map making contest, which if you want to participate, you have between now and the end of day on the 27th, 11:59 in your time zone to submit a map using Nightmare as inspiration. The map can be any shape or size, must be submitted to our Damn Challenge channel in our Discord, and you must adhere to the rules pinned at the top of the channel to qualify. Now, on the Damn Challenge stream, we showcase the entries from that challenge, and I showcase the winning map first. So we pick a winner, showcase the winner, showcase the rest of the maps. It's a great community event, fun way to put your work out there, challenge yourself to do something outside your comfort zone. Maybe you don't like making nightmare maps or horror theme maps. It's a good way to push yourself to new limits and outside of that little comfort bubble that you're normally in. Maybe you'll end up making a map that you'll use in your campaign right away. Maybe you'll make one and you'll never use it. The point is it's practice. And it's a good way to challenge yourself to new map making heights. So if you could participate, if you have time between now and Friday, please do. I would love to see your entries. So that stream will be this Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UTC, I believe. Anyway, and that's a multi-stream. That's Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Steam simultaneously. So you can tune in on the platform that's best for you and hang out and ask questions and see teasers and see maps made by our community and just generally vibe. That's kind of the point of these streams. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad and then we're going to wrap up the stream, okay? That okay? Hope so. You don't have a choice in the matter.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone, thank you for watching. I appreciate you tuning in to our One for All produced ad. They're a great comedy troupe. I love their skits. Always watching their stuff when it comes up on TikTok or YouTube. They've made a couple commercials for us now. Really appreciate them. We're hoping to work with them again in the future. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you all so very, very much. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Mac out. Bye.